Welcome to Inside the Indians, your source for insider information on the Tribe. Stay with us as we bring you the latest about the players, managers, and people behind the scenes at Victory Field. Now here's your host, the longtime broadcast voice of the Indians, Howard Kellman.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Inside the Indians. On today's show, we'll talk to Tribe skipper Brian Esposito, Indianapolis Indians hitting coach Ryan Long, and Tribe relief pitcher Tanner Anderson. We'll be back with Espo on WHMB TV Sports. Brian Esposito, the manager of the Indianapolis Indians, our first guest on Inside the Indians. Brian, I've watched you coach third base. You're an excellent third base coach, great feel. You made a decision, though, a while back to take yourself off the coaching lines. Tell us about it.
It's a decision I made to, number one, to help our assistant coach out, Greg Picard, get his feet wet and help him strive to do some of the things that he wants to do in this game as well. So coaching third base is something that he would like to do in the future, work with infielders and be one of the base coaches. So I'm going to provide him the opportunity to go get that done. And also it allows me to have more conversations on the bench, get guys more prepared for double switches, especially during these National League games. It's kind of tough. We ran into some situations where during a National League series, the third base coach's box is on the opposite side of the field from our dugout, which makes it kind of hard to get guys prepared in the bullpen right. So it's something for Greg's development. It's also something for my development as well, to be on the bench and have more meaningful conversations with the players as they come on and off the field.
You made the point to me off the air that when you're coaching third, you don't get the opportunity to do that. You can just say something in passing.
Yeah, and then you look at, if you're talking to a player about his base running while you're out there in the middle of the field, I want those guys to get out on defense and worry about taking something away from the opposition. And, you get in the way of that by standing on the field, having a conversation with a guy before he wants to go play defense. So it just works out for everybody. I think for the players where we are right now at this point in time of the year, it's pretty crucial to be having these conversations as our major league club has started, picking our guys up and needing them to impact that club. So we got to really get to the grindstone here.
What's your philosophy of coaching third base? Tell us about it.
Preparation. The biggest thing about coaching third base is your preparation, knowing the outfielder's arms, knowing the speed of your runners, and then also knowing the consistency of your own runners and how hard they're running. Here, we pride ourselves on running hard, always looking to score on every ball put in play, so it takes the guesswork out of whether I can send a guy or not. Now it's just a matter of me using, or Greg using the preparation of outfield arms, where's the ball going, historic events of the outfielders lazy getting to a ball. Do they go better one way or the next? So there's a lot of work that goes into it. Knowing who the cutoff men are, knowing how good and prepared they are to handle a throw and looking to throw behind runners. So there's just depth to doing your homework and making your decisions.
I know you want to be aggressive, but I think a good third base coach is aggressive yet intelligent, like a good base runner.
It's all hand in hand. We ask that of our base runners to have intelligent with aggression. Well, same thing from the third base coach's box. We want to be aggressive as well, but we have to make really good decisions based on the scoreboard, based on the personnel, based on other things like who's in the bullpen, who do we have available, who do we have coming up, behind the guy, who does the opposition have coming up late in the game. So there are a lot of things that get factored into it.
You want to develop players, but in terms of base running, game situations, the score, the situation should be everything.
Yeah, this game revolves around the scoreboard. You hear people say it all the time. There are certain things that the scoreboard will allow you to do. There are certain things that the scoreboard will tell you not to do. There's some integrity into the game built on the scoreboard of when not to run, when not to bunt. The scoreboard really depicts that and paints that picture for us. So same thing with coaching third. The scoreboard's going to tell you a lot.
It's the game within the game. Now, when you get two men on base, let's say there are men at first and second, and you're coaching third, then there's a base hit, maybe to right center, right. You're dealing with two base runners, which is challenging.
Yeah, and that's the art of knowing that your runners are running hard, because that runner from second base should know that on a base hit to right field that he's scoring. That's our thing. That's what we do. We touch home plate as many times as we can, so he's going hard. Now, once that we send that runner, you really got to get back to the bag and pick up that trail runner because he should be running equally as hard, looking to advance if that throw goes all the way to the plate. So you got to keep your head on a swivel. You got to make sure that there's just not one move in the game. There are layers to coaching third.
Was there anybody, you caught for many years, anybody who was a real mentor to you?
I have a lot of guys that are mentors to me. A lot of what I do now, I pick a lot of different guys' brains. I think Grady Little has helped us a tremendous amount in this organization. He's somebody I talk to and I could go to with some stuff, and he gives me a lot of stuff. Tom Prince I still talk to. He helps me out with some things. Everyone's kind of got their own area that which I'll go to him for. It's just using your resources. And I got such a huge bucket of resources that I'm able to use from all my experiences that I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all these resources. We
had Grady Little on a pregame show on radio in Charlotte. He spoke very highly of you, and he said one of the things is that every day you take on a positive attitude, no matter what happened the day before. Every day is a new day.
Yeah, I mean, this game will beat you down if you don't. You just got to be, to me, consistent is what you want. You want consistent players. You want consistent attitudes. Well, the same thing applies for us as a staff. More so on our side, we've got to provide that energy for the lulls. We don't go through the physical struggles that these players do. We might ride the mental struggles with them because we want these guys to go out and play as well as we can. So we've got to make sure as a coach and especially me as a manager, because I have to set the tone for the rest of my staff as well. We've got to turn the page and we got to get on. This is about development. We've got to get on with our day, and we've got to be as consistent as we can.
And talking about Grady, he managed in the big leagues with the Red Sox and the Dodgers. Can you think of anything he or anybody else said in particular to you that you found very helpful?
Man, I've been in so many places. There's so many different things that have been useful and helpful for me. I learned a lot about this game just by being around it and listening to conversations and talking to people. Which is something that, you always talk about old school. There was a lot of ball talk and things going on around nowadays. You have a lot of phone stuff and social media, and a lot of people dive into their phone and look at pictures more than they talk. I think I've learned a lot about this game by diving into some conversations. I got my nose in some conversations I probably shouldn't even been a part of, but I was accepted because I did the right thing and just sat there and listened. So I'm very thankful for a lot of the people, a lot of things I've heard along the way.
What's the difference managing in A-ball, which you did, as opposed to managing in AAA?
That was one of the things when we talked about making this jump. There really is no difference other than the level of play. The speed of the game might pick up a little bit. But these same players were all A-ball players at one point. They go through the same struggles. They have the same pitfalls. They all have the same things that they carried with them. They're just the biggest thing now is that they're one step closer to the big leagues, and at times they wear their emotions a little bit different, because you do have the opportunity to go to the big leagues, and when you don't, or someone does go in front of you, it could mess with you a little bit. So that, to me, is the only difference at this level, is that you're so close to the major leagues that you try to do everything as like a perfectionist, and sometimes that might get in the way, and you've got to be really good at finding those opportunities to make sure that we're lifting guys up and putting them in the right spot.
Thanks very much, Espo.
My pleasure.
Brian Esposito, the Indianapolis Indians manager, on WHMP TV Sports. Ryan Long, the Indianapolis Indians hitting coach, is our next guest on Inside the Indians. Ryan, this ball club has really done a good job with extra base hits, been among the league leaders as a team in hitting. Tell us a little bit about the approach and philosophy there.
Yeah, I mean, main approach, we're looking to barrel the ball in a big part of the field. I mean, if you just want to, put it down to one simple approach, that's what we're looking to do. So obviously with that, it has to do with getting good pitches to hit, looking to do damage in certain counts, and basically, looking to stay in your strengths and drive pitches that are in your hot zones.
One of the games in Charlotte, I remember we're facing a control-type guy, finesse pitcher, threw strikes, and I noticed the guys were really swinging early in the count. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing we talk about a little bit is as I leave the batter's box, we want to be ready to hit. Obviously, we might have some information on certain guys that may not command the ball as well. But basically from a hitting mentality standpoint, we want to be able to get our A swing off sometime within that count, and it may be the first pitch, it may be the fifth pitch. So just having the mentality of ready to hit for the most part when I step in the box versus, hey, let me see what this guy's got. you know, you might be taking the one pitch that you got to do damage with. So that's kind of some of the things we talk about.
That might have changed. It's a good point you made, just to seeing what this guy's got, because years ago you figured you'd face that man 4 times. But it's changed with relief pitchers coming in the 5th, 6th, and 7th innings. So years ago the approach might be, I have to learn as much as possible about this guy since I'm going to face him 4 or 5 times, and that's different now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and there's more data out there. I mean, we have certain programs that we can go and watch, you know, pitchers before we face them, but I think, you know, you continue to watch the game, though. The game's going to tell you what's going on that day. You know, just because a guy shows this on video, he may be different when he jumps out there on the mound, according to what he's got and what he's feeling. So, one thing, you know, our hitters do a good job of is sharing information with each other. What are you seeing? What's he doing right now? And we try to use that to our advantage.
That's a good point about sharing information, which is why it's not bad if the first hitter of the game sees about 6 or 7 pitchers, fouls off some pitches.
Yeah, I mean, perfect world. If we go through a lineup first time through and that particular pitcher wants to show us all his pitches, yeah, I mean, I think we have an advantage the second time through once you've seen pitches. And that's happened. I think Newman's done a better job of that here the last couple of weeks, as a matter of fact.
Tell us about Kevin Newman and Kevin Kramer.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 Kevins, you know, everybody confuses them, but they're 2 different people. Newman, yeah, he's done a nice job. He's obviously been in our leadoff spot pretty much all year. Like I said, he's doing a better job of learning, you know, what his zones are and where to attack. I think you saw more free swinging Kevin Newman in the first part, and now he's kept that aggressiveness, but yet he's starting to zone in and hone in on some pitches he's getting to drive. So that's been big for him. Kevin Newman, interesting, you know, probably can be considered a smaller guy, but that has some thump in the bat. So
Kevin
Kramer,
yeah, he showed it in Charlotte.
has some thump in the bat. So interesting there, what he brings to the table as a middle infielder, and then, you know, a guy that can drive the ball as well. So you know, just continuing to work some consistency of being in the right hitting position for him, and also just continue to learn how he's being attacked for both of those guys. You know, as they continue to progress through their development. You know, if you look at them in the upper levels, they don't have a ton of at-bats yet. So continue to gain that experience, recognize how people are attacking me, and see where I can take risk in certain situations.
Kevin Newman's a right-hand batter. Kevin Kramer is a left-hand batter. Any difference with you in working with each of them because of that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, the obvious thing, them being different sides of the plate, and then me being, you know, right-handed, obviously, you know, you may have a little better feel for that. But yeah, I mean, there's some differences. Obviously, they face different sides, different pitchers. There's some things, but I mean, uniquely like any other hitter, there's always gonna be differences whether they're both right-handed or not. You know, there's always gonna be some differences. So we try to tailor it more specific to that player.
Hitting is timing, pitching is destroying timing. That's what always been said. Now pitchers are just throwing hard.
Yeah, I mean, there seems like there's a lot of guys throwing harder. You know, the bottom line is in hitting an average fastball at 92 miles an hour, you have, you know, a blink of an eye to make a decision, yes or no, am I going to swing it or am I going to take? So as a guy throws even harder than that, obviously the timing gets even more difficult. So that's where the advantages come. But yeah, I mean, that's what they're trying to do, man. They're trying to throw off our timing. I think from a technical standpoint, some things we talk about is trying to get our body in the best position. Are we controlling our body? Are we in a position to do something whether or not the timing is right there or not? You know, that's the key, because you're not always going to be perfectly on time. You know, there's going to be times you're a little out front, there'll be times you're late, but is your body in position to still get off a good swing in order to maybe, you know, drive a ball in different counts?
Do you feel an important part of your job is instilling confidence in players?
Absolutely. You know, and that's going to be around till the end of the day. You know, the key is, you know, where's that confidence deriving from? You know, if we only get our confidence from having success on the field, you know, off of hits, it's going to be a tough road. So we got to find other drivers. Is that a part of it? The results? Yeah, of course it is. But we have to find other drivers. You know, the way we train. You know, the way we work. You know, the standards we keep ourselves to. What's the quality at bat? You know, is it just am I barreling balls? Am I still confident, or do I just need to get hits to be confident? So these are all the things we try to keep our guys in the right lane, to keep them in the right frame of mind, because you're not always going to have the results all the time, you know, hit wise.
Well said. Thank you so much, Ryan.
You're welcome.
That's Ryan Long, the Indians hitting coach on WHMP TV 40. Tribe relief pitcher Tanner Anderson, our next guest on Inside the Indians. Tanner, you've done a very good job for this ball club out of the bullpen. Tell us a little bit about your philosophy and approach to pitching.
I think for me, pitching, a lot of it is knowing the hitter. A lot of it's mental. I try to use that as my strongest asset. I kind of go after hitters as much as I can. I pitch to contact. I'm not really a strikeout guy, so my defense behind me is the key to any success that I have on the mound. I kind of just try to find weaknesses and then attack those weaknesses with my strengths.
And you'd like something to happen within 3 pitches?
Oh yeah, definitely. The quicker the bat is on the ball, the better for me, because it's the less stress on my arm. It's quicker innings. It's faster that we get inside to on offense to hit. Keeps the game going at a nice pace for our defense as well. So yeah, the quicker the out, the better.
You grew up in Tampa. Did you have a chance to play pro ball out of high school?
No, I didn't. A couple of guys in my area did, and so there was actually a lot of scouts at like a lot of our high school games and stuff. But no, I wasn't throwing quite as hard out of high school, and I already had my mindset on college. So no, I didn't.
And speaking of college, it's wonderful that you're a graduate of Harvard. Tell us about that experience.
I wouldn't take it back. I wouldn't trade it for the world, honestly. At first going in, I was a little bit, reluctant, from Tampa, not really from the Northeast, a little intimidated by the school, obviously. But when I got there, I realized that the people there were awesome. The environment was awesome. They really help you out. They care about you. So yeah, I had a blast in school and wouldn't have gone anywhere else.
When you were in your freshman year and your sophomore year, you're obviously at a wonderful Ivy League school. Were you still saying, I want to be a baseball player?
Yeah, contrary to the popular belief of, hey, you're going to Harvard, you're going to do something in business or academics, after school, I the entire time was like, you know what, I want to play pro ball. I'm going to give everything I can to pursuing pro baseball. Yeah.
Well, the other thing too, you mentioned going to the Northeast, and you're a baseball player, so you're dealing with a big climate change.
Yeah, I might have cried my freshman year. I'm not really sure if I actually did, but the first game, in Ivy League, it was like halfway through the season freshman year, and it was 35 and windy with 15-mile-per-hour winds, and so it was just freezing. I've never experienced anything like that. I had never seen snow before college. And, a bunch of the guys were like, yeah, probably the rest of the season's going to be like this. And I was just like, oh my God, this is miserable. So every year I would look forward to the first half of the season, because that's when we would go down south and, in a little sun, play some, better competition, some greater teams. And then we'd come back to Ivy and it would be really cold for the last month. So that was a little bit different, but once you get used to it, it wasn't miserable. We were able to handle it. So
please take us back. You get your degree, and then there's the draft about the same time, and you're drafted by the Pirates.
So I had a couple teams reach out. They wanted me to come do some a couple of their camps or showcase things where they take a weekend and you play some games and see what's going on, as well as the questionnaires you fill out about like health and the MLB and everything. So there was some interest, so I had some sort of idea, but I didn't know it was a for sure thing at all. So around June 15th, 16th, I think that's when the draft was in 2015. I was just sitting at my house. My dad had his computer open. We were listening to the thing. It was day 2 or 3 or something like that. And I got the call in the 19th round, and the scout who had been in contact with me was like, "Hey, we sign here. We want to get you." And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, no doubt." I was happy. And then the 19th round passed, and I didn't get drafted. And I was like, "Oh no, what's going on?" So then the 20th, he called me. It was like, "Hey, I don't know what happened. No big deal. Will you sign here?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." Then he was like, boom, I saw my name pop up, and I was like, yes, let's do it. It finally happened. So, my dad was super pumped. My mom was there. It was an awesome experience.
And now you've risen to the AAA level and had success.
Yeah, partly again by just how well my defense does behind me. if I'm giving up a lot of ground balls or something and they're getting through, I'm not nearly as good as, and I don't have nearly as much success as I've had.
One of your catchers on this ball club is Ryan Lavarnway, who's a Yale man. So we got that Ivy League battery at times. What's that like?
It's really awesome. I haven't played with anyone yet who's who also went to an Ivy League school, and we both kind of fight the stigmas of like overthinking things and being maybe too mental about the game and not letting the game just happen. But no, he's a great guy. He's a jokester in the clubhouse. He's one of our greatest leaders. He's got a lot of knowledge. He's got a lot of time in the game, and that's awesome. That he because we have that kind of that special almost bond kind of that we both went to Ivy League schools. He reaches out and he takes care of me. So yeah, he's awesome.
Tanner, great to have you aboard. Thank you so much, and congratulations on all you've accomplished athletically and academically.
Appreciate it.
That's Tanner Anderson on WHMB TV 40. Thanks to our guests, Brian Esposito, Ryan Long, and Tanner Anderson. See you next month on Inside the Indians.